Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, December 14th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-kyan. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea continues to see high numbers of new COVID-19 cases, with 718 reported on Monday. The government is opening 150 temporary health clinics across the capital region today, where anyone can go and get a free test. The United States is on the brink of rolling out vaccines as the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention signs off on Pfizer and BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine. And despite days of intensive talks, the UK and EU failed to reach an agreement on the post-Brexit trade deal by their deadline on Sunday. The two sides announced they will continue with negotiations. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country saw a smaller number of daily cases compared to Sunday. But as cases are on the rise everywhere, especially in the capital region, the government has decided to open temporary health clinics offering free COVID-19 testing. Our Chang Tae-hyun is on the line to tell us more. Tae-hyun.
Hi there, Mo-kyan. So South Korea reported 718 new cases on Monday, falling slightly after recording an all-time high daily figure of 1,030 on Sunday. Most of the infections were focused in the greater capital area, but sporadic infections continue nationwide. To find cases among people who are asymptomatic, the government is opening up 150 temporary health clinics all across the capital region on Monday. Anyone can visit the place to get a free test. The temporary clinics will be installed at subway stations as well as around universities with high traffic and run from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day, including weekends. At these new testing centers, people can get tested anonymously. Of today's daily cases, 682 were locally transmitted and 636 were imported from overseas. Authorities have warned that should the situation continue, it's inevitable that the nation's distancing level would be raised to its highest level at level 3. In the meantime, with the high number of cases in the capital region, Seoul Office of Education has decided to move all schools online from Tuesday. That's all I've got at this hour. Back to you.
Thank you for that, Tae-hyun. Do keep us updated. Now, as the number of COVID-19 patients in South Korea continues to surge, health authorities are laser focused on securing enough sick beds and medical staff. Our Kim Bo-kyung has more on what experts are urging South Korean authorities to do.
As the number of people infected with the virus surges, the number of patients in a serious condition has also increased. Given that it takes around a week to 10 days for conditions to worsen after infection, it is important to secure more sickbeds for seriously ill patients.
If this trend continues and the number of patients increase, the country's medical treatment system would also reach its limit.
Experts advise that it is necessary to actively seek for cooperation with private hospitals instead of relying on national and public hospitals which do not have enough sickbeds. The problem is that the government isn't announcing any compensation plans for private hospitals.
The government has not presented any compensation plan for private hospitals in the case they are mobilized. If the government does not guarantee against their losses, who would cooperate?
Even if the sickbeds are in place, it won't be any good unless the necessary human resources who can treat patients are ready. Considering that it previously took around 4 months for the government to educate around 350 nurses specifically to work with seriously ill COVID-19 patients, securing human resources could be more important than securing sickbeds.
Since all the staff wear level D anti-contamination clothing, it is hard to effectively utilize human resources. And also, it is hard to start the work right away without experience.
The number of people with mild symptoms is expected to rise as more people get tested in the temporary health clinics that are opening up. At present, around 580 infected patients in the capital area must wait at home as they weren't assigned sick beds. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
As COVID-19 cases in South Korea reach record high numbers, calls to implement the strongest antivirus measures are growing. Our Choi Min-jung explains how social distancing level 3 would affect the country if and when the government decides to use its last card.
Amid record-breaking COVID-19 cases in South Korea, calls have grown for raising social distancing measures to level 3, the highest level under the 5-tier system. The main objective of the strongest antivirus measure is to advise people to stay at home and minimize contact with others. Under level 3, gatherings of 10 or more people would be banned, and multi-use facilities will have to close with the exception of those deemed essential, including hospitals and stores. Wedding halls would also have to shut down, and only family members would be allowed for funerals. People would also be restricted from going to amusement parks, movie theaters, and department stores. Schools, including kindergartens, would turn to remote learning, and companies would only be able to have essential workers in offices, with the rest working from home. All sports and religious events would be restricted as well. With these tougher measures, the country's economy is set to face more hardship. According to the Health Ministry, Level 3 social distancing would negatively affect over 2 million multi-use facilities and businesses, with over 450,000 facilities under a no-assembly order. The Bank of Korea forecasts private consumption to reduce by 16.6%, with GDP dropping 8%. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The director of U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has signed off on approving the use of Pfizer's COVID-19 vaccine, allowing the use of the vaccine as early as Monday. The U.S. hopes to have immunized 100 million Americans by March. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
The United States is on the brink of rolling out vaccines, as U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention Director Robert Redfield on Sunday signed off on Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine. The approval allows inoculation to officially move forward for those aged 16 or older. The CDC's decision comes a day after the CDC's Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, an outside group of medical experts that advises the agency, voted unanimously to recommend the vaccine. The FDA gave the Pfizer vaccine emergency use authorization last Friday. With the latest approval, the CDC director noted that the first COVID-19 vaccinations are set to start as early as Monday. Trucks containing the first packages of the vaccine began leaving Pfizer's facility in Michigan on Sunday, with delivery expected across all 50 states by Monday. The CDC noted that shots should first go to frontline healthcare workers and residents at long-term care facilities. Speaking to Fox News Sunday, U.S. Operation Warp Speed Chief Advisor Dr. Moncef Slaoui said the U.S. hopes to immunize 100 million Americans by the first quarter of 2021. He added the U.S. hopes to have 40 million doses distributed by the end of December using Pfizer and Moderna, which is expected to get emergency use authorization for its vaccine later this week. Another 50 million to 80 million doses are due to be distributed by January, with similar numbers in February. According to Slaoui, for the U.S. to get herd immunity, the country needs to immunize about 75 to 80% of its population, a mark he hopes to reach by May or June 2021. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Germany is set for a much harder lockdown starting this Wednesday to prevent the further spread of COVID-19. According to Reuters on Sunday local time, Chancellor Angela Merkel pushed for the stricter lockdown, requiring non-essential stores to shut from December 16th to January 10th after a meeting with leaders of the country's 16 federal states. Stricter curbs include the shutdown of schools and daycare centers too. The decision follows a partial lockdown, which began early last month. The country said that it will support affected companies with a total of around 11 billion euros a month, which is around $13.3 billion US. The Brexit transition period before the UK leaves the EU is due to expire in just a few weeks. But a post-Brexit deal still remains uncertain as, once again, no agreement has been reached. Our Lee Kyung-eun has the details.
The UK and EU have decided to take yet another extension as they try to hammer out a post-Brexit trade deal. Despite days of intensive talks in Brussels, the two sides failed to reach an agreement by the deadline on Sunday. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson and the EU President spoke over the phone, after which they announced a joint statement saying that the talks will continue.
After almost 1 year of negotiations, and despite the fact that deadlines have been missed over and over, we both think that it is responsible at this point in time to go the extra mile.
However, both sides hinted at some degree of optimism that the talks have been constructive. The EU president also said she will see whether they can reach an agreement even at this late stage. On the same day, Johnson also expressed UK's commitment to engage in further talks, but hasn't completely ruled out the possibility of a no deal.
But I've got to repeat, the most likely thing now is, of course, that we have to get ready for WTO terms, Australia terms. And don't forget, everybody, we've made huge preparations for this.
In the event of a no deal, bilateral trade between the UK and EU will fall back on World Trade Organization rules starting January, following the expiration of the Brexit transition deadline. The two sides first began bumpy talks in March to strike a future trade deal, but they've struggled to narrow differences over fishing rights in British waters. Fair competition regulations has been another concern, as the EU demands its rights to retaliate against the UK if the country fails to abide by the bloc's rules. Experts warn Brexit without a deal will cause shockwaves not just in regional financial markets, but also in the global supply chains. 이경은, Arirang News.
South Korea has confirmed 3 more cases of highly pathogenic bird flu at a poultry farms in the south and west of the country, raising its this year's total to 13. The Agriculture Ministry said Sunday that the H5N8 strain was found in samples collected from 2 duck farms in Yeongnam County and at a chicken farm in Gimpo. In response, quarantine authorities are culling poultry within a 3-kilometer radius of the infected farms and issuing a standstill order on nearby farms for 30 days. South Korea reported its first case of highly pathogenic bird flu in 32 months in late October. In sports, Tottenham Hotspur's Heung-min has notched his 4th assist of the English Premier League season in his team's 1-1 draw against Crystal Palace. Playing in front of a limited crowd at Selhurst Park on Sunday, the South Korean forward linked up with Harry Kane in the 23rd minute to give Tottenham the 1-0 lead. The goal was the 12th time the two have helped each other find the back of the net this season. However, a late goal from Crystal Palace cost Tottenham the 3 points.
Good morning. The strongest cold front of the season is here, allowing temperatures to plummet near -10 degrees to -15 degrees Celsius this morning in many upper parts of the country. Seoul also saw lows near -10 degrees with a cold wave advisory. Meanwhile, a heavy snow advisory is in effect for 전라도, 제주, 울릉도, and Dokdo today. So up to 30 centimeters of snow could fall there, while the west coast of Chungcheong-namdo province could see up to 10 centimeters through Wednesday. Please drive with care, as snow will cause slippery, icy roads. The afternoon temperatures will hover around freezing for snow-affected regions. So Gwangju will get up to the freezing mark this afternoon, while temperatures in most parts will remain in negative territory at -4 degrees here in the capital and -1 degree over in Daejeon. This intense cold snap will stay with us through to the middle of the week, so let's all stay bundled up. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Behind Korea's success